Hello and welcome to your Met Office Deep Dive. My name's Alex Deakin. I'm a weather presenter here at the Met Office, but today I'm channeling my inner Olaf as I go in search of summer. Join me for the next 20 to 25 minutes as we travel through space and time to try and locate some warm and sunny weather, because it's definitely been in short supply across the UK. If you enjoy this, do hit the like button, and if you've got any comments, do please put them in as well, because we do love reading them. Comments, questions, queries, suggestions of how we can do things differently, or what else you'd like to see in the Met Office Deep Dive, because it's here for you. Okay. As always, plenty to talk about, and we are going in search of summer, but no sign of that certainly recently across the UK. This is the satellite image for the past few days, and you can tell just from the way the clouds are moving, that the air is coming down from the north. Clumps of cloud drifting south from Iceland, and when the air is coming down from the north, well, it's no surprise that there's a bit of a chill in the air. You've probably noticed that over the past couple of days. It has been a fairly fresh feeling, despite some decent spells of sunshine. Why is that? Well, let's take a look at the bigger picture. Here's what's going on, the pressure pattern at the surface, and what's going on high in the atmosphere with the jet stream. The jet stream is driving to the south. We've got this little trough, this little dip in the jet stream, and we're in that. The winds at the surface, therefore, are also coming down from the north. And it's these northerly winds. Look at that, a real doozy of a northerly all the way up to the Arctic. That's where our air is originating from. It does mean there's pretty good visibility out there when the sun's out, but it also means, yes, despite the reasonably powerful June sunshine, it does feel chilly, and high pressure is nearby. That is going to topple in and bring many places a fine day tomorrow. In fact, if we just fast forward to tomorrow, we'll see that not only is the high pressure moved in a little bit, but as it does so, the winds, at least across the UK, are going to be a little bit lighter. So tomorrow's going to be a fine day for most places. The air is still incoming from the north, but with lighter winds, maybe a bit more sunshine, it shouldn't feel too bad tomorrow. So yes, we've got cold air in place from those northerly winds, but we are in for a bit of a change later on in the week. But certainly for the next couple of days, staying on the cool side. Let's take a look at the numbers we're talking about. Temperatures today generally struggling in the mid-high teens in one or two places across the south. These numbers generally 3 or 4 degrees below the average. But tomorrow, well, we're still only in the teens, but we are, for most places, a couple of degrees higher tomorrow. And with lighter winds and a bit more sunshine, well, it might just feel a bit more like June. Certainly by the afternoon. First thing tomorrow morning, it's going to be on the cold side because the mornings are still particularly chilly. Overnight temperatures, towns and cities, single digits, but in rural spots, quite a bit below. And we could be well below, particularly as we go through into Wednesday morning. These are the temperatures, single digits. Northern Ireland, parts of Wales, Scotland, that hint of blue on the chart suggesting rural spots may not be far off freezing, actually, so a bit of a chill in the air, certainly. And even on Thursday morning, again, it gets a bit milder in the west. We'll see why that is in a moment, but look at these temperatures again over central and eastern parts, 7-8 degrees. That's in urban areas, towns and cities, but in rural spots, it may not be too far off freezing, 2 or 3 degrees, and certainly a ground frost is possible over the next coming nights. Is that unusual? Well, actually, it's not exceptional, far from it. This map is showing the number of ground frosts that we see across the UK in June compared to average. Anything white is 1 or fewer. Anything blue is between 1 and 5. So you can see actually across Scotland, a good part of Northern Ireland, and a good part of Wales actually. Most Junes you see at least 1 or 2 ground frosts. A good part of England though in that white zone where ground frosts are pretty rare. So yeah, we do see them in June, but they're not a common occurrence. And our stats guys have been looking at some of the figures so far this June. We've had 130 recorded ground frosts in June. Compare that to 143 for the whole of June 2023. June 2015, however, we did have 600 in 2015, and that was also a particularly chilly start to June. More on the June stats in a moment, but yeah, first let's take a look back at those temperatures over the next few days, because we are going to see a bit of a change. Today's temperatures, tomorrow's temperatures just ticking up. By the time we get to Friday, Saturday, again, more widely up to 16, 17 degrees. Let's compare those numbers with average, because we are, as you might imagine, well below average at the moment. As I said, 3, 4, 5 degrees. This darker shade of blue is between 3 and 6 degrees below average. Most of the UK below average by about 3 degrees or more. And that's today's figures, so quite a bit colder than average. By tomorrow, not quite as blue. Still, it's far from average or above, but it is just starting to creep up. By the time we get to Friday and Saturday, again, those temperatures more widely closer to average. So this week it is getting warmer. It just isn't getting warm. We're going from well below average to back somewhere closer to average, but there'll still be a bit of a chill in the air, but it's going to be a different feel because we'll see our winds swinging in from a different direction. Let's take a look at a few more stats. Talked about June so far and how many frosts we've seen, or ground frosts we've seen. Ground frost is where we take the temperature on the floor, by the way, on the ground. So when temperatures there actually dip below freezing, not the air temperature that's measured in a Stevenson screen a bit above the ground, but we have thermometers on the ground as well, because that often is colder, particularly at this time of year, and of course that's important for gardeners if you get frost on the ground, whereas the air temperature can be a few degrees higher, whereas that temperature on the ground, because it radiates that much more, is that much lower. These are the mean temperatures for June so far, and well, you may or may not be surprised to see that we are below average, ticking along here at below average, quite a bit below really for the time of year. This is only with the data up to yesterday. We will see that that curve may be rising a little bit, say, as the temperatures over the next few days get back a little closer to average. But this is the cumulative score, if you like, through June so far. You can see we was a little bit above average through the latter part of last week, but now we are well and truly below average. We're also below average on rainfall, and that's been helped by that northerly wind. Yes, we've seen some heavy showers around, but this is the cumulative compared to this black line, which is the average line for June. The red line at the top, the extreme wettest June, and this is the driest June, the blue here. And you can see here that we are below average in terms of rainfall. Again, that is likely to tick up, particularly as we head towards the weekend, because we are going to see something of a change in our weather patterns. Let's take a look at that. I've already hinted at the change with those temperatures, but you can see here and now the jet stream dipping down like that. We have what's called a more meridional weather pattern, where the weather's quite static. This area of high pressure is toppling in, but out west, look at this, a much more angry looking jet stream, a much more kind of typical, you might say, a zonal jet stream as it's known, because it's going from east to west, rather than this north-south orientation. This is an east-west orientation, and this jet is just going to give everything a bit of a push. Out in the Atlantic at the moment, we've got weather fronts, and yes, they are on their way in. If we just play through this sequence over the next few days, this little trough, this little dip in the jet stream kind of gets pushed away. The high pressure topples in, but it's weakening all the time. It's being pushed away by this more active jet stream funneling in across the Atlantic. And yes, that means these weather fronts are going to arrive. And that means a spell of wet weather as we go through Thursday. In particular, these weather fronts driving in, bringing some rain, developing low pressure systems, dipping again. So we have this little bit of a trough in here, which is generating the low pressure, helping to spin things up, creating low pressure, pushing the weather fronts in and pushing the rain in with it. Let's put the rain on that chart. Let's just zip it back a little bit, because you can see most places dry on Thursday, but then the rain comes in on those weather fronts as that jet stream dips south. And then if we just fast forward to Friday and then Saturday, not a great deal has changed from where we started. We've got the dip, but we're still on the cold side of the jet. But instead of high pressure, we have low pressure sitting right across the UK, and that is going to generate a lot of showers. So yes, mostly dry on Wednesday. Thursday's the day of change. Still fine in many eastern areas, but then low pressure comes in. Expect a lot of showers. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's looking very showery indeed from this area of low pressure. It is going to turn a little bit milder. Let's put those temperature profile, because we had come back to here. This is where we are now with the northerly winds and the cool air. Fast forward, we've got the orange colours back, but as we saw earlier, it just means temperatures are going to be back closer to average. It doesn't mean warm. Of course, it's June, and when we're talking showers, it means there will be some sunshine between the showers. And when the sun's out in June, it always feels reasonably pleasant. And so, yes, it will feel a bit warmer, but it will not be anything like warm. Temperatures, as we've seen, will be just much closer to average. Plenty of showers in these low pressure systems as well. What we'll actually probably have through the course of the weekend, in particular on, let's fast forward to Sunday, we'll generally see, actually let's do Saturday because that shows it quite nicely. We're going to have kind of 3 zones of weather on Saturday and Sunday, close to the area of low pressure. Notice the isobars are quite spaced apart, which means the winds are going to be light, which means where we see the showers, there's not going to be much to move them on. So there'll be a zone close to the centre of the low where there will be slow-moving heavy showers, but equally, away from the showers, there'll be some slow-moving sunnier zones as well. So in this central zone, close to the centre of the low, there'll be slow-moving heavy showers. Then you've got this other zone where the weather fronts are still around, bringing more persistent rain, just a band of slow-moving rain here. There's quite a bit of uncertainty about the position of that front, but where you are on that zone, expect it just to be dull and damp. Whereas in the south, notice here, yes, there will be a lot of showers, but there's also, the isobars are closer together, so there's going to be enough of a breeze. So in this southern zone, it'll be a really changeable day on Saturday. The showers will come, the showers will go. Heavy downpour 1 minute, sunny spells the next. So 3 different distinct types of weather, even though it's just one area of low pressure dominating things. And the exact position of the low and those weather fronts will really determine where those zones start and end. So for details on that, if you've got plans this weekend, do keep up to date with the forecast, because you could be in any of those 3 zones really, under the more persistent rain with the weather front, that slow-moving showery zone close to the centre of the low, or in the south where the showers will just zip through on a fairly brisk wind. So that's how it's looking into the weekends. Showery, but a change compared to what we're seeing at the moment. But as you can see from that, no real sign of any lengthy spells of sunny and warm weather. And I said at the start, we are going in search of summer. So we're going to have to do one of 2 things, either change, go forward or back in time, or move somewhere else in the world. So let's do that, because I know where the sun is shining, and shining strongly at the moment, and that is across parts of southern Europe. Particularly the eastern end of the Mediterranean. High pressure dominating here. Let's put the jet stream back on actually and show you the full picture, because while we've got this dip in the jet stream here, there's another kind of arm of it pushing northwards here, which is just allowing this high pressure to build across the southeast of Europe. And that means the temperatures are building here as well. I'll take the rainfall off for now. It's in this zone where the heat is really building once more. It was pretty hot last week. Temperatures have dipped off a little bit, but over the next 24 hours or so, they are going to be building again, particularly across the far eastern end of the Mediterranean. So Cyprus, Turkey, parts of Greece especially, seeing those temperatures really rising. And then just notice, as we go through the weekend, let's fast forward that a little bit faster, start to see the heat does tend to drift away again from Greece, but stays pretty hot in Turkey and Cyprus into the weekend. But even here, that heat starts to subside as we go into Sunday especially. Let's take a look at what that means for those temperatures in this part of the world. Let's head down there first of all. Hotter. I feel like I'm playing a game with my 4-year-old. The highest temperatures definitely in this part of the world. A couple of days ago, there was a tornado triggered by the thunderstorms in Hungary, and that's where the hot air is meeting the cooler air further north. But the hot air in place across Turkey and Greece. Let's have a look at some of the numbers that we could see here, putting this on the map here. So parts of Greece, they're up to 40 degrees tomorrow, not far off on Thursday, but we will see that dip in temperatures in Greece as we go through Friday and Saturday. If we just scroll down to Turkey now, temperatures here also, particularly inland, rising up into the high 30s, mid 30s. And let's just scroll down to Cyprus, because I found a 40 degrees here earlier in the week, but it's just disappeared. I've lost it now on the map. Where's that gone? Let's have a look. I'm losing the map. There we are. Let's bring Cyprus in, start that again. Onto here. Yeah, there we go. 38 degrees. So they'll peak in Cyprus Friday and then start to dip off on Saturday. But that is definitely where summer is at the moment, in this southeastern corner of Europe. That's where the hot air is, that's where the sunshine is. Compare and contrast, take the jet stream off, the cooler air across the north, hot air across the south. So quite a contrast there between the blues across the UK and the chilly air from the north, and that heat building across southeastern parts of Europe. Temperatures going to get over 40 degrees in some locations over the next couple of days. And where they meet, where the air masses clash, that's where we see heavy thundery showers. And we'll see more of those over the next couple of days, Tuesday and Wednesday, particularly northern Italy, parts of Hungary, Romania, Ukraine, up towards Russia, where you see the hot air meeting the cold air. You get a clash, you get the rising air, and you get the thunderstorms. And I mentioned earlier the tornado in Hungary on Monday. And if we look at the satellite picture, you can see in here, just watch the thunderstorms blossom on Monday. You can actually see the mushroom clouds developing there. There's one supercell, big thunderstorm developing. Let's just do that again, because that's quite cool. You can see them just in here, individual cells just blossoming, really rapid explosion, if you like, of a thunderstorm just developing, and that's what creates the heavy downpours, and that's what created the tornado in Hungary on, is it Sunday or Monday? I think it was Monday evening across there. Okay, so we've found some hot and sunny weather by going to a different part of the world. Any sign of that warmth returning to the UK? We've seen in the short term, no, not really. But what about beyond that? Looking a little further ahead, are there any signs of summer returning to the UK? Well, the short answer is not really, because if we look a little further ahead, these are the rainfall anomalies. So when you compare them to average for a week, starting next Monday. So it's a week's worth of rainfall anomalies. Green is wetter than average, and brown is drier than average. And these from the European model for the whole of next week. So from Monday the 17th to Monday the 24th, so it takes us across the solstice. And you can see that the signal there is actually it's going to be wetter than average for England, Wales and parts of eastern Scotland, and around average for much of western Scotland and Northern Ireland. So that isn't signalling a lot of dry and sunny weather. And there's an even stronger signal if we look at the actual temperatures. Again, this is for the same time, so for the whole of next week starting Monday. Temperatures compared to the average for June. It's across the whole week, so you can have a warm day and then a cool day and it averages out. But this is showing quite a decent signal that generally England, Wales, Northern Ireland, across the week, if you average it out, we're going to be below average for that following week. After that, well, there aren't any strong signals at all, really. It looks showery through next week, which is why it's slightly wetter than average for England and Wales and staying on the cool side generally. After that, for the final week of June, the week into Glastonbury, actually, the weather signals are pretty weak. I've been speaking to Helen, our deputy chief here at the Met Office today. We did our 14-day outlook earlier, and again, just talking to her, you just get the feeling there isn't any strong weather signals for that final week of June. And that's often the case at this time of year. There's no real global drivers dictating our weather patterns. So you often get that this time of year. No really strong signals. High pressure or low pressure, it is, well, a bit of a toss-up really for that final week of June. This, again, from the European model is for the following week, and it does indicate perhaps that pressure may be building from the west. This is the temperature, and it does indicate that perhaps temperatures in the west may be a little bit above average in the west for that final week, but I can't emphasize enough how there's no really strong signal for the weather patterns beyond June. There's no strong signal, certainly for anything significantly warm. We may just see higher pressure nudging in from the west as we go through the latter part of June, but no real strong signal for anything significant in our weather going forward. So we can't find summer for the UK going forward. Let's look back, because I can definitely find summer for you if we look back exactly a year. 1 year ago today, the UK was officially in a heat wave with parts of the UK over 30 degrees Celsius. Actually, on the 10th, it was over 30 degrees Celsius. And then the 11th, these are the temperatures from the 11th of June last year. Compare and contrast to the temperatures for today, for this afternoon, 14, 15 degrees compared to temperatures quite widely in the mid-20s and a few places over 30 degrees Celsius. So going back a year, well, that's where we can find some sunshine, some hot and sunny weather across the UK. Which do you prefer? Be interesting to know in the comments, actually. I think most of us would prefer something in between. Certainly myself, about 25 degrees would be about right. But which do you prefer, 32 or 16 degrees Celsius? Interesting. Let us know in the comments which one you would rather have. But yes, no real signs of summer for our weather going forward or going back. As I talked about in the past, actually, 2020 was also interesting in terms of how it started pretty cool. Talked about how this year has started on the cool side, and people are commenting quite a bit on it, but we've had other cold starts to June in the past. 2015, 2019 were also pretty chilly starts to June. This chart is showing June 2024. Each of these maps is for a different day. So for the first 9 days in June compared to the average, so the anomaly temperature map, and you can see actually that the second was generally a bit warmer than average before we turned blue. And actually 2024 was remarkably similar, with the 1st and the 2nd of June generally above average, quite a bit above average in northwest Scotland. And then we embarked on a pretty chilly spell. For over a week, temperatures were quite a bit below average across a good chunk of the UK back in 2020. It then did warm up, and towards the end of the month, that dark red one toward the bottom right there, we did have quite a hot spell towards the end of June. But people remember 2020, of course, and certainly the spring, because it was locked down and there was a lot of sunshine around. But actually June of that year did start off fairly chilly, and overall I think it ended up being a little bit below average in terms of its temperature overall across the whole month. So it's not exceptional, the weather we're experiencing at the moment. Something comparable did happen just 4 Junes ago. Historically, I'm going to take you back a year again now, because this is a sad moment for me, because if you've been following the Met Office across social media for a number of years, we've often this time of year highlighted a particular anomaly in the summer stats. The 13th of June, I loved this stats deeply. The 13th of June was the only day in meteorological summer never to have reached 30 degrees Celsius, and that changed last year. So during the hot spell, during the heat wave that we talked about, these were the temperatures we recorded on the 13th of June 2023. And that brought an end to that amazing stat that I loved, that the 13th of June was the only day in meteorological summer never to have recorded 30 Celsius. So that has gone. Every day now in meteorological summer, which is of course the months of June, July and August, has recorded a temperature over 30 degrees Celsius. And that, I just thought I'd mention that because it's a sad moment for me that we've lost that stat. Okay. Enough of that. I hope you've enjoyed this journey. We have found some hot and sunny weather, albeit not for the UK. Do please keep your comments coming. We will read them. We'll reply to some of them as well. I get in the chat probably about 4:30 this afternoon, assuming we can upload this in time. And yeah, I'll be live interacting on the comments then. But keep your comments coming in, even if you're not watching this, even if you're watching it later on, because we do read them all and we do love your feedback. We'd really do appreciate it as well. So if you could hit the like button, that would give us a big boost as well. Thank you very much. We can keep doing these things and share the love. Let other people know that we do this and that we are on here, and the deep dive for other Met heads, people who may love this kind of thing. Do share the love and let them know as well. But that's it from me for this week. Thank you for watching. I hope you had fun, and I'll see you again soon.